Scott Disick is attempting to separate Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian, and he seems to be succeeding. Hi, before we continue, please subscribe to the channel for all Kardashians news and update. Scott Disick, who is well known from the reality shows connected to the Kardashian family, is still holding on to feelings from the past. Even though Kourtney Kardashian has moved on and is now happily married to Travis Barker, it seems like Scott is having a very hard time letting go. He once had Kourtney's love, but through many wrong choices, he ended up losing her. Now, some people are starting to wonder if Scott might be trying, even in quiet ways, to come between Kourtney and Travis. Though no one can say for sure, there are small signs that make some fans think Scott hasn't truly accepted that Kourtney is no longer his. When Scott and Kourtney first started dating, they had a very deep connection. They were young, and their love was passionate. But with time, things began to fall apart. Maybe it was because Scott wasn't ready for serious commitment, or maybe the fame and attention that came with the reality show changed him in ways that made it hard for their relationship to survive. Whatever the reasons, Kourtney gave Scott many chances. She waited and hoped he would become the man she needed him to be. But he didn't grow fast enough. Eventually, she reached a point where she couldn't keep giving and not receiving the kind of love she deserved. There was a time when Kourtney would have done anything for Scott. Her love was strong and pure. But even the strongest love can fade when it isn't respected. Scott made many mistakes during their time together. When Kourtney finally gave up on him emotionally and started to move on with her life, that's when Scott seemed to realize what he had lost. That's how it often goes. People only appreciate someone after they've already walked away. Scott and Kourtney's relationship played out for years on television. From Keeping Up with the Kardashians to the Kardashians, fans got to see the highs and lows of their time together. Sometimes it felt like they would end up together forever. Other times it was clear that they just couldn't make it work. There was always a certain spark between them, but there were also many problems, big problems that never really went away. When Kourtney finally fell in love with someone else, the change in her was clear. She stopped waiting for Scott to improve. She chose herself and her happiness instead. And Scott had no choice but to watch from the outside. He often looked like a man who knew he had lost something truly valuable. You could see it in his face and hear it in his voice. It was like watching someone who wanted to turn back time but couldn't. Kourtney had finally reached a place where she knew she deserved more, and Scott realized it too late. Now, Scott seems to be focusing more on being a father. He shares children with Kourtney, and he has been trying to be more present in their lives. Maybe he thinks this will make Kourtney see him in a better light. Maybe he hopes it will bring them closer again. But people are asking if his actions are coming from a place of real growth or from a desire to pull her back into his world. Is he truly trying to change for himself and his kids, or is he still holding on to the hope that he and Kourtney can start over? There was a very emotional moment shown on Keeping Up with the Kardashians where Kourtney was trying to deal with the truth about Scott's behavior. In one scene, she hears another woman's voice on the phone while Scott is talking, and although she tries to believe his explanation, something deep inside her tells her the truth. She wasn't ready to walk away just yet because she still loved him so much. That kind of love doesn't just disappear overnight. It takes time and pain to finally let go. Even when everything inside her was telling her that Scott was not going to change, Kourtney kept hoping. She wanted things to be different. She wanted to believe in the future they had once dreamed of. But Scott's actions didn't match her hopes. He continued to make choices that hurt her, and little by little, her heart broke. At some point, the emotional pain became too much. Kourtney experienced what felt like emotional damage over and over again. It wasn't just one big event that broke their relationship, it was many small ones that added up until she had nothing left to give. But even though that time in her life was painful, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Walking away from Scott gave her the chance to find a new kind of happiness. It opened the door to something better, something more peaceful and fulfilling. Being with Scott meant always expecting disappointment. He wasn't the person she dreamed of building a future with, at least not anymore. She realized that settling for a love that made her feel uncertain and hurt wasn't the right choice. So she moved on, and she didn't let her past make her bitter. Instead, she kept going and eventually found love again, this time, with someone who made her feel safe and appreciated. Today, when people see Scott, they sometimes say he looks lost. Maybe he is still thinking about what could have been. Maybe he's remembering the moments when Kourtney still looked at him with love in her eyes. But all of that is in the past now. Kourtney made a decision to leave, and that decision was right for her. Some fans even think she should have left earlier. There were too many red flags, too many signs that Scott was not going to change in time. One of the most hurtful moments for Kourtney was finding out that Scott had referred to another woman as his wife on his phone, even while they were supposed to be working on their relationship. That kind of behavior broke her trust. A person who truly values you won't put you in that position. It became clear that Scott didn't respect her enough to be loyal, and that realization changed everything. Now that she's married to Travis Barker, Kourtney is living a completely different life. She seems more joyful, more free. She has created a new chapter where she can be herself without the weight of old wounds. And while she's building something beautiful with her husband, Scott remains stuck in the past, unable to move forward the way she has. This doesn't mean Scott is a bad person. Many people make mistakes, especially when they are young and caught up in things they don't fully understand. But mistakes have consequences. Scott had more than one chance to make things right, and he didn't use those chances wisely. So, in the end, he lost someone who truly loved him. Some fans are wondering if Scott is secretly hoping that Kourtney's relationship with Travis will fall apart. While there's no proof of that, it's not hard to imagine him feeling that way. Watching someone you once loved be happy with someone else can be very difficult, especially if you still have feelings. But wishing for someone's relationship to fail is not the answer. If Scott wants peace, he will need to find it within himself, not by hoping others fail. It's possible that Scott's recent focus on being a good parent is also part of trying to stay connected to Kourtney's world. He knows that his role as a father gives him a reason to still be in her life, at least in some way. Maybe he hopes that if he shows he's changed, she'll see him differently. But if the change isn't real, if it's only for show, then it won't lead to anything lasting. True growth means accepting the past, learning from it, and moving forward without expecting to be rewarded. If Scott can do that, maybe one day he will find the kind of love and peace he's searching for. But if he keeps looking back and holding on to what is no longer his, he will stay stuck in the same painful place. Kourtney's journey has not been easy. She went through heartbreak, disappointment, and emotional exhaustion. But she kept her head up, protected her heart, and eventually made choices that were best for her. Thanks for watching. Please do well to share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more Kardashian updates.